I would have thoughts that felt so frightening, I would actually jump back and recoil in fear at the mental images and memories in my mind. Of course, there are still thoughts here sometimes, as in concepts of what I'd like to do, experiences I would preferably like to avoid. But the difference is, there's no longer the obsessive rumination, no longer the feeling of being a dense, heavy person to which things are happening to. And so, this is why we speak about things like awareness, presence, not thinking all the time, and simply being. Because I remember the nights I spent ruminating about a recent breakup, being tortured by a mental theatre in my mind about imagined dark futures and what had been, thinking, I need to stop thinking. How do I stop thinking? But even thinking this is just more thinking, and feeling trapped in an endless loop. Maybe if I wasn't introduced to the power of presence and not believing all the thoughts in my mind, there could have been some major harm to myself or others. And so, in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what the shift was and how this can shift with you too. If you feel trapped in your thoughts, overtaken by overthinking or anxious worry, this message can completely transform your whole experience of life. The qualifiers are, you must have an open heart and mind. You must be fed up enough with the suffering that you're prepared to look deeper and be prepared to let go of old ideas and identities and want freedom more than anything else. If you're on this video, perhaps that's you. Before, over here, every thought that arose was taken to be me talking to me. If a distorted memory came up about me saying something potentially terribly embarrassing at the party last night and being judged to death for it, I would believe myself to be the character in that story, and just the thought of it would send electrical shockwaves through my body. You see, I was taking myself to be the me in every mind-made story. If there was a story here about being abandoned by my partner, running low on money, or being destitute, or not knowing what to do, it would cripple me into a ball and I'd have to go lay down on the couch for a few hours and have a nap and then get up and have a cold shower to shake it all off. You see, I'd already tried stopping my thoughts. That didn't work. And I quickly found out the follies of trying to stop the mind with the mind. It's just a completely lost cause, right? Even more frustratingly, trying to be present and aware wasn't working either. I'd have peaceful, sometimes blissful glimpses of what it's like to be present, just being and listening to the birds outside or looking at a pattern on a leaf. But then I'd be back into anxious rumination about the state of my savings account or beating myself up for not being far enough in life. Every so often, a panic attack would hit out of nowhere. I'd suddenly be overwhelmed by an impending sense of existential doom, like the universe just seemed like a dark, dark place and there's nothing that can be done about it. Images would flash into my mind of painful memories and ideas about being thrown into existential chaos or something. It didn't even make sense. But I tried to stop thinking about the dark and negative things, but it just seemed to make it worse. I tried deep breathing to calm down, grounding, telling myself I'm safe, telling myself there's nothing to worry about, but it never stopped the thoughts seeming so real. If I couldn't think, logic, or reason my way out of this, if doing some meditation technique or trick wasn't the answer, then it seemed to be related to something deeper. It seemed to be more about where I was putting my attention and who or what I was taking myself and reality to be. You see, I'd already read The Power of Now, and so I felt like I got it. Just be present, be with your sense perceptions and away from that world of tortuous thinking. And this, of course, in its own way, was a huge awakening, a huge shift. But for that anxious thinking to really shift in a deep and sustainable way, there had to be a deeper shift in my whole perception of reality. Or I would be stuck forever in a world of being a person who's always having to be super vigilant to catch myself overthinking and stay present. Doing that forever sounded exhausting. There had to be an easier way. What I discovered were these simple pointers to our true nature: awareness. And once I began to rest as awareness, everything changed, and it felt like the real magic finally begun. Because initially, thoughts were still appearing, but they were always now seen as surrounded by a larger awareness. No longer did this feel like something that I was going in and out of, or kind of pendulum swinging in and out of. There was this realization that this is way more than just stepping out of thinking and being aware, or perhaps even recognizing my spiritual nature. This is about remembering the great secrets of the universe. As woo-woo or grand as that initially sounds, I was beginning to open up to the possibility of our infinite nature. I initially felt the fear that perhaps I was just fooling myself, that I would lose myself or lose control. But then I could see that the more I relaxed as awareness and allowed everything to happen naturally, the better everything would actually go without having to anxiously worry about it or control it. So this was the simple shift that changed everything. The revelation: I am not just a person, not just a body and mind, but this ever-present awareness that's been at the basis of our whole life experience the whole time. I had been reading and listening to so much Alan Watts and Eckhart Tolle, but then I started going down that non-duality rabbit hole and reading texts from the ancient sages and wisdom traditions. And I was introduced to concepts like non-duality and awareness, and even some who claimed to be more radical and didn't like the word awareness and preferred to say, there's no one here, there's just what's appearing, simply this. And so all of this had me deeply inquiring, what is this awareness? What is this isness? What is its nature? Is it just this sense of peace beyond thinking that I have been experiencing? Or is there true happiness in there? What about the means to manifest my heart's desires? Is it just simply happening, or is there any control? However, the more I trusted the flow and trusted awareness, parking the mind for a moment and just opening up to the flow and the stillness, better insights and intuitions about how to solve my apparent challenges and achieve my goals would pop up out of nowhere, better than I, Alex, could have ever thought up by racking my brains about it. So it's funny, isn't it? You know, I titled this video with life-saving practice because from one perspective that's true and it's accessible, right? But the deeper truth is making a permanent shift from obsessive anxious thinking is less about doing a practice and more about having a realization about who you are. I could see that no matter the content of my thoughts, no matter the content of my feelings, the state of my health or body, or where I apparently was in the world, something was constant through all of these experiences. This awareness. I could see that awareness was present in the waking state, the dream state, and even deep sleep seemed to be a phenomena that just popped in and out of awareness. And I could see that awareness is always primary. And that if I just rested as awareness, the thoughts were allowed to come and go. I saw that trying to control them would be more focusing down onto the world instead of just simply being and basking in this piece of awareness. And I could see that as I rested as this awareness, feelings that I had previously tried so hard to resolve were more so just naturally rising up from the subconscious, being fully felt as somatic sensations and eventually resolving on their own. It was like I could look at awareness so closely, even though there's really no separation. It starts off as this deep seeing, like seeing into its nature. And I could see that no thought, no feeling, no form could ever harm the awareness. And so that gave the mind a lot less reason to come up with anxious thoughts, because you're starting to access existential safety, right? You see and recognize yourself as this awareness, and you rest as this awareness. But it won't instantly end all of the thoughts. The mind and the feelings that are fueling the thinking have momentum post-realization, but now they are no longer identified with all the time. They're no longer instantly focused down onto, and instead you start to see them as an appearance in awareness, a dancing form rather than a true story about you or what's going on. Even if thoughts of unpleasant or uncomfortable circumstances flash up in awareness, you, the real you, this awareness, remain forever still and forever undisturbed, just like a movie screen remains forever undisturbed by the movie. So, like what's suggested, it's not ultimately a practice. At first, it may feel as if you're practicing awareness, but eventually it dawns that who you already are and what already is already this awareness. So what could you do to get to it? It's already the ever-present reality. So it's just in allowing identification to all of the thought forms to fall away and relax back as the awareness. It's strangely even more so that it dawns it's already who you are, and really you're just stopping the practice of taking yourself to be anything else. You're just stopping the practice of believing anxious, fearful thinking. So practice at first if you feel that it helps, but just know you can relax into this. An experiential exploration can help. You know, the meditation to realize your true nature beyond thinking started when this video began. But as well, we can go into something that looks a little bit like meditation as a brief and yet profound exploration to really see and relax into this. And so if you like, and if it helps you to go deeper, and of course, if you're safe to do so, you can go ahead and close your eyes. And can you simply recognize that you're aware? Can you notice that you simply are? The mind doesn't have to understand that. Just to ask yourself the question, am I aware, or what's aware? And notice that presence of awareness. Or perhaps noticing that this simply is this. Simply what's appearing. Would you agree that awareness is like a space in which sights are appearing, sounds appearing, thoughts and mental images appearing, and smells and sensations all just effortlessly appearing in this space of awareness? If ever you find your attention zooming down onto any particular thought, no worries. Just whenever you notice that, relax the attention back and rest wide open as this awareness. And simply be. Noticing that which is before thinking, before concepts. Allowing attention to sink into its source. Relaxing the attention back to rest as the full view. Can you notice that on the experiential level, fear, anxiety is made of nothing more than thoughts and sensations? Simply forms dancing in this space of awareness. And can you notice that none of these forms can disturb the awareness, can disturb the real you? Rest as this. This always immediate, ever present consciousness. This you are. Imperturbable. Noticing that by doing nothing and simply being, thoughts appear and disappear, but you remain here as the awareness, the space around it all. The presence. And that by doing nothing and simply being, the thoughts are allowed to come and go just by your nature. Non-attachment, non-resistance. Awareness, life just flowing without the need for an anxious controller. A deeper harmony and a deep healing just effortlessly unfolding. With complete trust that simply being and allowing is beneficial for all, as all the pain, old emotions resolve in this sacred space. With focus on and a belief in being a dense me out of the way, one is just being aware. Openness, stillness, and therefore intuition naturally flows. And finalizing a playful imagination of the embodiment of this. Perhaps a new flow and harmony in conversation. Creative flow and expression. Facing fears or embodying love and compassion, whatever it is for you, just allow a beautiful vision of the embodiment of flow to dance in imagination. And before we open our eyes and come back to the space where we always were, just breathing deeply in through the nose with a few power breaths just to bring a bit of energy back into the body. Deeply in and let go. Deeply in, let go. Last one all the way in. And release, rolling the shoulders back, wiggling the fingers and toes, giving yourself a little stretch and opening our eyes if we did have them closed. And I hope you enjoyed that exploration. If you'd like to go deeper with the exploration into transcending identification with thinking, resting as awareness, awakening to your true nature, in this context of safety, releasing the contracted feelings, and embodying more and more so your limitlessness, I invite you to join Awake and Embodied. It's my group platform, community platform with the full awakening and embodiment courses, weekly live group calls with me, and all kinds of other resources to support you in your journey. So the link to that is in the video description. I trust you found this video of great beneficial value. See you in the next one. Peace.